Hey guys, it's Yuta. So I think people tend to overestimate the uniqueness of their own culture, and I'm no exception because there are many things I thought only existed in Japan or were only popular in Japan when they were not. So today I'm gonna talk about things that aren't really only in Japan. Eating raw fish. So I knew that Japan was famous for eating raw fish, whether it's sushi or sashimi. But I didn't really think about other countries where they might eat raw fish. But actually, even in Japan, there's some foreign dishes that contain raw fish. The most obvious example in Japan will be fish carpaccio, which uses raw fish. And it's Italian. I'm not sure how popular it is in Italy, but in Japan it's very popular and almost all Italian restaurants in Japan have some type of carpaccio. And I also came across Peruvian ceviche and tiradito, which also use raw fish. And they're my favorite because they are so good. But the difference between sashimi and other things is that both carpaccio and ceviche, they use lemon to cure raw fish. But with sashimi, they usually just freeze fish to kill parasites. So I guess sashimi is more purely raw compared to other dishes. But I feel like there are more places where people eat raw fish, so if you eat raw fish in your area, please let me know. Women-only cars in the train. For some reason, I vaguely thought that maybe women-only car only existed in Japan. Or it's more like I didn't really think about other countries where they might have women-only cars. But when I started traveling, I came across women-only cars in other countries as well. I can think of Mexico City and Manila off the top of my head, even though in Mexico City it was a bus, not a train. And I think I saw it in other countries, but I don't remember where. But Wikipedia has a dedicated page for women-only cars, and it says they exist in Egypt, Brazil, Mexico, India, Malaysia, and Germany. And some other countries tried the idea, but they didn't continue. And apparently Britain tried the idea as early as 1974, when none of us were born. And I've also seen a taxi app with only women drivers in Peru, although it didn't seem too popular. So it turns out women-only cars are not that uncommon. And come to think about it, there are perverts in any country, so it makes sense. By the way, I got into a women-only car in Japan by mistake twice, and those were some of the most awkward moments in my life. Rice cookers. Well, first of all, I didn't know that eating rice was very common around the world, even outside Asia. And even with my own experience, I can tell that at least it's popular in Latin America, the Caribbean, and Africa. So it was quite silly of me to think that only Japanese people would use a rice cooker. Although, to be fair, rice cookers were developed and commercialized in Japan. The first automatic rice cooker was introduced in Japan in 1955 by a Japanese company. But that doesn't mean other countries don't use rice cookers. And I think it was when I went to Thailand that I saw a rice cooker abroad for the first time. And I was like, yeah, they eat rice, so it makes sense that they use a rice cooker. And guess what? I saw a rice cooker even in Colombia, among other countries. So apparently it's quite common. By the way, you don't need a rice cooker to cook rice, and actually it's usually better to use just a regular pot. It's faster and it's more delicious. And in Japan they say that this type of clay pot is best to cook rice. So maybe you should try it sometime. Japanese anime. So I had no idea that Japanese anime was so popular around the world. I thought maybe they would watch super famous ones like Dragon Ball, but apart from that, I didn't think other people would watch Japanese anime. But I was wrong. First, I realized that there were anime fans around the world. But then again, I thought they were just a small number of people. But when I was in France, I made lots of friends from all over the world, and they weren't interested in Japan. And one day, my Italian friend mentioned that she liked Sailor Moon, and I'd never associated her with Japan or anime or anything that has to do with Japan. So I was like, so regular people watch anime around the world. That's interesting. in Vietnam, Doraemon was very popular and it was all over the city. And in Latin America, anime was pretty common, so people very casually watch anime. And even with people who are not super into anime, they know what anime is and they probably have watched some anime. And I find it interesting that many people don't actually know that Japanese anime is from Japan. And I feel kind of proud whenever I tell them that their favorite anime is actually from Japan. So I feel very happy that a piece of Japanese culture is appreciated by so many people around the world. Karaoke. So the more I talk about this topic, the more dumb I feel. Because of course many people like singing karaoke around the world. To be fair, the word karaoke is a Japanese word. Kara means empty and oke means orchestra. So it means empty orchestra without the vocal track. The idea itself doesn't seem too original, but apparently the first karaoke machine was invented by a Japanese person. And many languages use the word karaoke, including English and Spanish among others. And many people mention that karaoke existed in Western countries, except over there it's more like a bar and you sing in front of everybody. But if you go to a karaoke place in Japan, you will have a private room that you can share with your group. But even the Japanese style karaoke is pretty common in many Asian countries, so it's definitely not Japanese only. But still, karaoke seems to have a lot of cultural significance in Japan. And in Japan, many people go sing karaoke even by themselves. In fact, there are karaoke places in Japan that are specialized for people who go there alone. But the most karaoke loving country I've ever been to would be the Philippines. They have all kinds of karaoke places there, and my favorite is those karaoke rooms at the arcade where you can pay by song. Also, home karaoke machines are very popular and many shops sell them. And it's very interesting to see staff members sing karaoke at the shop to demonstrate. Although I have a doubt that they are actually having fun. So I would say the Filipino people are as enthusiastic, if not more enthusiastic when it comes to karaoke compared to Japanese people. So as you can see, many things that seem Japanese are actually pretty universal. Still, many things come from Japan or are popularized in Japan, so Japan offers a lot of interesting stuff to the world. And if you want to know more about Japanese culture, I think you need to be able to speak Japanese. And if you want to learn Japanese with me, I can send you some free Japanese lessons by email. So click the link and subscribe to my email group, Japanese with Yuta. Alright, see you guys soon. Ciao, ciao.